I have a confession to make. I picked the Dallas Mavericks to win the NBA Finals. And I know the storylines here are insane. We got Kristaps Porzingis, a former Dallas Maverick player, Kyrie Irving, a former Boston Celtics player. It's just like made for TV. But tonight, in game one, in Boston, I don't give a shit Sue puppy. If you didn't see what KP was doing, man, oh baby, you need to go ahead and check out the daggone replay because your man went off. Honestly, I knew he was coming off of the bench, so I didn't expect much from him. However, the fact that in the first quarter he was like dropping buckets, he had 3 blocks in the first quarter, it was really a bad signal for the Mavericks. There are a bunch of things that happened throughout the game that I want to point out, but the biggest story for me was really Kristaps Porzingis. This guy has never played in a playoff game beyond the first round. All of his playoff experience has been in the first round. He hasn't played basketball in over 30 days. He's missed 10 games, I believe, hasn't played basketball in like 30 something days. And he shows up game one of the freaking NBA Finals, shows up, shows out, absolutely no chill nuclear. Your man was cooking with hot bacon grease. Now, if you have ever heard my voice or seen anything that I create on social media or on YouTube or on our podcast, that I don't really care for the Boston Celtics too much, right? But KP, man, he really showed up. So I just had to start by giving him his flowers. We're going to actually dig in and talk about some of the statistics and some of the things that I caught in this game one that I want to bring to your attention, and also just see what your thoughts are on it. With that being said, the first thing I want to take a look at is KP's stats. Let's see how he finished tonight. So as I mentioned earlier, he had 3 blocks in the first quarter, which was a negative signal for the Dallas Mavericks. Also, just looking at it, through my lens and giving it the eye test, it appeared that KP's height and length on defense really impacted the Dallas Mavericks. All of those lobs that the Mavericks typically throw, you'll see Luka doing like his best Chris Paul Lob City impression with hitting Derek Lively, hitting Dan Gafford with these lob passes. That didn't happen really in game one. So I think that Kristaps Porzingis helped to neutralize some of the alley-oop activity that the Dallas Mavericks have used in their bag throughout the playoffs and towards the end of the regular season when those trades occurred. But man, KP was a force. But let's take a look at what he did. So he ended the game with 21 points. Whoa. No, my apologies. 21 minutes, 6 rebounds, and 20 points. Overall, a very solid game, especially after missing so many and like being away from basketball, for 30 something days. It's amazing to see that kind of a bounce back for him. So other than that, we had 6 Boston Celtics players. Scoring double figures. We had Al Horford with 10, Tatum had 16, Jaylen Brown had 22, Derek White had 15, Drew Holiday had 12, and then Kristaps Porzingis with 20. The cool thing about Kristaps Porzingis is he only played 21 minutes, where these other guys, everyone else that I named, played at least 30 minutes. So in just 21 minutes, he was able to, gather that many, stats or that much, production in a short period of time. Let's talk about the Mavericks. On the other side of the ball, there was a point where the Mavericks were down, I think, by like 28. They were down by a ton, but they fought back in the third quarter, and they got it down to, I believe, 8. I was literally sitting here on the couch like, okay, it's about to go down. Like, Luka's about to do his thing. They just couldn't keep it going. They couldn't sustain the comeback. And honestly, the top was off. Boobies was out. Hair blowing in the wind. The Boston Celtics were rolling, and they just extinguished any hopes of a comeback that the Dallas Mavericks had. So let's talk stats. Luka had a pretty good game. He dropped 30 with 10 rebounds. One thing that's worth noting is that he only had 1 assist. I think he's averaging like 8 assists in the playoffs, and he is a consistent distributor of the rock. So to see that is quite concerning. That's a negative signal. The biggest story for me is Kyrie Irving. I expected a lot from Kyrie Irving in this series, and I know this is just game 1, but this is definitely a concern for me. He only had 12 points, and he shot poorly from the field, only 2 assists, 3 rebounds. Really concerning stuff. I imagine that Kyrie is going to turn it around. If you watch the game, you can see that his body language and his, attitude around the situation that they were in game 1 was very positive. So for that, I believe he will bounce back, but this is definitely a negative signal. PJ Washington had 14 points. Derrick Jones had 5, which really sucks. And then that was kind of it. They only had, and Jaden Hardy had 13. So they only have 4 players in double digits. Super concerning. Definitely something that is not going to really help them if they can't get more people to score in double digits. Having only 4 people scoring double digits, and 3 of those guys were starters, the other guys off the bench, it's just a whack opening game in this series. Tim Hardaway Jr. had 0 points in 8 minutes. Dan Gafford only played 14 minutes, only had 8 points and 3 rebounds. Very uncharacteristic for him. Josh Green, 3 points in 20 minutes. Maxi Kleber, 19 minutes, 2 points. Derek Lively, stinking up the joint, just 2 points in 18 minutes. So, with all of that said, what needs to happen in order for Dallas to have some kind of a chance to win this series? Really, they have to take game 2, right? The way it works for playoff basketball, finals, every round of the playoffs, if you can steal a game on your opponent's home floor, you have the advantage. So it starts with game 2. The Mavericks have to win that. If they go down 2-0 going in to game 3, the Celtics smell blood, right? They are a bunch of sharks swimming in a bloody pool, and I imagine that if the Mavericks don't bounce back and win game 2, we're going to be looking at a really quick loss for the Mavericks. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think the Mavericks will pull it off in game 2, or do you think that the Celtics are going to keep rolling?